They said they could talk to the dead. They said they could heal the sick. They said they could see your future. But behind the candles and crystal balls, behind the trembling voices and whispered prayers, was something darker. A network of illusion, preying on loneliness, turning grief into gold. This is the story of how an empire of psychic scammers rose from the ashes of the Soviet collapse, and how it all came crashing down, not with a scream, but with silence. In the 1990s, Eastern Europe was rebuilding. The Iron Curtain had fallen, and with it, so had the certainty people once clung to. Factories closed, jobs vanished, families migrated west, chasing promises of stability that rarely came true. In that chaos, people wanted answers. They wanted meaning. And into that vacuum stepped a new kind of prophet. Not from the church, not from politics, but from the world of the unseen. Televised psychics, healers, mediums. They offered not just hope, but clarity. The illusion that someone, somewhere, still had control. It began small. Local television stations, late-night shows. A woman in her 50s, eyes closed, claiming she could heal through the screen. "Place your hands on the TV," she'd whisper. "Feel the energy." And people did. They placed their palms against the static glow, feeling warmth, maybe from the electricity, maybe from faith. Soon, entire nations tuned in. In Russia, Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, psychic hotlines became a multi-million-dollar industry. Call centers operated through the night, each minute billed to the desperate and the grieving. The miracle workers became celebrities. They dressed like mystics, spoke in riddles, and moved like saints. They filled stadiums, promising to exorcise pain, guilt, illness, anything, as long as you paid first. But it wasn't just showmanship. Behind every televised seance was a system, one built on psychology, manipulation, and data. Former employees later revealed how it worked. Operators took notes during calls, personal details, birthdays, names of lost loved ones. These details were fed back to the psychic to create the illusion of clairvoyance. It was part performance, part engineering, a con powered by human emotion. Victims weren't the naive. They were the grieving, the isolated, the forgotten. Widows sending pensions to cleanse bad energy. Parents paying thousands to reverse curses on their children. Every lie sold, wrapped in the language of love. By the early 2000s, it was everywhere, from dusty villages to glowing capital cities. Psychics advertised like pop stars. They promised reunions with the dead, protection from evil, even lottery numbers. Governments tried to regulate them, but the line between belief and fraud blurred too easily. Who could outlaw faith? Still, cracks began to show. Journalists went undercover, recording fake healings. Police traced millions of euros funneled offshore. And when one high-profile psychic in Ukraine was caught hiring actors to play miraculously cured patients, the curtain began to fall. The collapse didn't happen overnight. It was a slow unraveling, an empire eating itself. Viewers grew skeptical. Social media spread clips of failed predictions, broken promises, and awkward silences. Then came the investigations. In Romania, one group was charged with organized fraud after scamming thousands of pensioners. In Bulgaria, a TV psychic was caught using Google searches mid-consultation. And across Russia, psychic call centers were raided, their energy crystals nothing more than cheap glass. The myth dissolved under the light, but the damage had already been done. When you talk to victims, you realize this wasn't about stupidity. It was about longing. A widow who lost her son in the war doesn't want a bank statement. She wants a message. A man who lost everything in the economic collapse doesn't want logic. He wants hope. Psychics didn't invent that hunger, they just monetized it. And that's what makes this story so haunting. Because it's not just a story about scammers, it's about all of us. About how far we'll go to feel seen, to feel guided when the world feels indifferent. Today, the psychic industry in Eastern Europe still exists. Smaller, quieter, hiding behind new names. Energy healers, spiritual mentors, intuitive coaches. The tools changed. The hunger didn't. Maybe that's the real trick. Not the illusion of magic, but the illusion that we've outgrown it. Because, deep down, in the silence of uncertainty, we still reach for something. A voice in the static, a promise in the dark, someone who can tell us everything will be okay. And maybe that's the oldest magic of all.